Well, that's a pretty graphic demonstration of the difference between brand new fluid, obviously on the left, and 35,000 kilometres or 20,000 miles on the right. I do a little bit of towing admittedly, but I do have a transmission cooler, and this was changed 35,000 kilometres ago. So if you've left yours 50, 60, 100,000 Ks plus, you can only imagine what it's like. Today I'm going to be conducting a minor service on the transmission of my FJ Cruiser. It's not a full flush, and I can hear the transmission expert saying, "You're not doing it correctly, it's all wrong." Well, this is what I do, and I do it every 35,000 kilometres. What I think it does is just keeps the transmission fluid relatively fresh. Obviously a transmission is going to have more than 3.5 litres or 3.4 litres of transmission fluid in it. You're never going to get it all out unless you've got a special tool at a transmission specialist where they actually flush out all of the transmission fluid, then pumping clean fluid in. So what I'm doing is just taking out 3.5 odd litres, putting 3.5 or 3.4 litres back in. What you could do is you could do this once and then take it for a drive a couple of days later, do it again. The reason for me doing this is some FJ Cruisers have a tendency to get a transmission shutter or a torque converter shutter. My transmission has never done this, and I think it's because I flush the transmission fluid so regularly. If you're capable of changing your engine oil, you're capable of changing this particular fluid. It's no more complicated, it's probably easier than doing a service on your engine oil. There's no filters involved. Basically all we're doing is dropping the transmission sump plug, draining it out, then filling it up again. I'll show you what the tools are that you're going to require for the job, and we'll go from there. Tools required: you're going to need some sort of pump to transfer the transmission fluid from the bottle into the transmission itself. This one I've just got from Supercheap. I find those pretty good. You know, they do pump quite a lot of fluid, very little effort. Transmission fluid is the Toyota WS transmission fluid. You can buy alternatives from the auto suppliers. However, I've found that the shift is a little bit hard, so I've gone purely back to the Toyota transmission fluid. You're going to need a 14mm ratchet and a 24mm ratchet. Obviously make sure that the car is cold, because you don't want to be having hot transmission fluid. First of all, we've got to undo the fill bung or bolt that's on the right hand side of the transmission. So just give you a bit of a bearing. So there's your drive shaft on the left hand side, and that fill bung is up the back of the transmission next to that little sensor, the sensor plug, and to the rear. That one right there. That one. You want to drain the drain plug for the transmission, which is the rearmost plug. It's a 14mm. Have your drain container ready. So the Toyota WS transmission fluid comes in a 4 litre container. I'm going to put that 3.4 litres, which I pulled out, back out. What I'm going to do first is I've measured out 600ml, and I'm going to pump that into the transmission and drain it again. See what I mean about spilling? Watch these little pumps. Sometimes it'll pop out of the bottom, so hang on to the fill end. I suppose you get what you pay for, being a super cheap pump. They do work quite well. They pump a pretty good volume of fluid. It definitely looks a bit cleaner. So we'll completely fill it up with the 3.4 litres, maybe a little bit above, because as you can see next to the pump there, you do spill a bit. Also wear a pair of gloves too, because transmission fluid's horrible stuff. Pop the fill bung back into the bottom of the transmission. They don't have to be mega tight, these, especially the fill plug on the outside of the transmission. That one's, if you over tighten it, you'll never get it off. It's only just more or less just a nick up. Like that. give it a bit of a clean. And I'll degrease all that when I've finished. Now I've completely fill it again. I tend to put a little bit more in, just because of the spillage and things like that. So maybe just one more pump of the filler. You can do this twice. So you fill it up, run it, drive it around for a day, come back, drop it again and put another 3.4, 3.5 litres in. Also, if you have a look at the fill plug on the side there, so it's got that rubber O-ring, make sure that that comes out with it and it goes back onto the fill plug, otherwise you could end up with a leak. So there you have it, that's a minor service or a minor flush on an FJ Cruiser transmission. If that doesn't fix your shuddering issue, after you've done it a couple of times, then yeah, you may have to take it to a transmission specialist. Yeah, obviously give it a go. Be careful. You no need to really jack your car up. You can do it on the ground. Obviously, if you're going to be jacking cars up, use jack stands, etc. If you got some value out of the video, by all means, give us a thumbs up. That's really appreciated. Helps my channel immensely. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. So, you know, if you got some value again out of the video, a subscribe, you know, is very much appreciated, even if you never watch one of my videos again. So yeah, guys, catch you on the next one.